Hey, audience! So you will not believe what happened to me tonight. When I was driving home, I saw a coyote on the road. Yes! It was so cool. And my daughter was asleep already in the car, and I was driving. Wasn't even going that fast, about 40 miles per hour or whatever. And I saw something moving, and I automatically, it was something big, you know, and I put my foot on the brake, kinda, you know, like I was kind of about to hit the brakes or whatever. And he saw me, I saw him, he turned around and started going to the side. And I'm like, as I was passing him, you know, I was looking at him, he was looking at me. We had a moment, but it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool. I see a lot of little kit foxes and stuff like that, but coyote, those are a little harder sometimes. So anyways, wanted to share that story with you really quick. I am going to jump right into my monthly favorites. I don't want this video to be too long, so the first thing I'm going to share with you is my favorite crystal for the month of June. And it was Tourmaline. Let's see if I can get the light to go on him a little bit better. Yeah, I had him in my pocket at work all month long. I felt like there was a lot of negative energy there for some reason, and just some weird things going on with corporate-y kind of stuff. You know how that goes sometimes, and just feels like there's weird changes in the mix and just bad juju all the way around. Anyways, I kept him in my little gauze pouch here. Kept him in my pocket. So he was indeed my most used crystal for the month of June, to keep some of that negativity at bay. If anyone was sending me bad vibes, I just wanted them to basically be reflected right back at them. So the next thing I wanted to share with you was the fact that nearly 3 weeks of this month, my family, we were all sick. My daughter barely started preschool, came home 2 days after 2 days of preschool and had the flu. I'm not talking a little bit of flu, I'm talking a bad one, a really bad one. Once I was done being a mom, she got over and got her over it, then I got it. Now, I had it for a good week and a half to like 2 weeks. I really stuck on, and I actually called in sick one day because I completely lost my voice. And I was stuck at home with my daughter, and I was literally whispering to her, going, please be a good girl. But during this time, I found myself making a lot of tea. So I was hitting my apothecary quite a lot. And the 4 that I'm going to show you right now make a delicious tea. I posted pictures of this on my Instagram if you want to check it out. Link down below. These are my favorite herbs for the month of June because I kept reaching for them and almost killed my entire supply of them. So chamomile would be my first runner up. You know, good for tea, chamomile tea, very calming, very soothing. I would do a little pinch of that. Then I would go in with Echinacea. On this one, I'm not even messing around with this herb. I went in hardcore with it, and I have one of those little ball strainers, and I would just fill it with the Echinacea. A little bit of chamomile, but mostly the Echinacea, because it's such a good cleansing and purifying. And I just wanted to get rid of that flu as quick as I could. To top it off, I would take a few of my rose hips and I would literally loosely sprinkle them right on top of the tea. I didn't even care that they were sitting there floating. That was beyond me. And to be honest, it was actually really pretty and appealing to the senses. It smelled divine. I would sprinkle the rose hips on the very top and let them float, and then I would add a dash of my dried orange peels. Now I would go in there and just get the bigger chunks and let them float at the top of the tea. And just be careful not to swallow it when I was sipping it. And can I tell you, the smell of this tea, of this brew, these four in conjunction together, divine. So good. And I really do think that it helped speed it up and get it out of my system as quickly as possible. As far as like pre-made teas, the one that I really, really love, and this is probably the third or fourth box I've killed, is the yogi tea, the honey lavender one. This is some good stuff. Stress relief. Not necessarily cold relief or whatever, but he's my favorite. Okay, so essential oils for the month. My top three, my lavender. This brand, this particular brand, I found on Amazon, and it happened to be like the deal of the day one time, and I think I got it for like $8 or $9. I freaking love this stuff. It smells so good. It's a nice big bottle, and it has the dropper, so it's so just like convenient. But this is probably my absolute favorite oil right now, so other than my clary sage lavender. But yes, this one I just reach for constantly. So we were both sick, and I took out the diffuser, and I was, you know, running the essential oils on our diffuser. Then on top of that, I had a huge humidifier out that was hardcore steaming up the room that we were in, because she had started getting a cough, and then later on my cough came. So these guys, they came out into play quite a lot. The next one is this Rosemary Mint. And this is just one that I got at like Walmart. These are the cheap ones, you know. They're like, I don't know, $5 or less. But rosemary and mint, I figured that was a good kind of protection cleanse. The mint to get a little bit of energy in there, because when you have the flu, you just don't want to do anything. You just want to couch, and that's it. The other thing I went in with was a bit of camphor. And this one I bought at the vitamin shop. Camphor is really good when you have the colds, the flus, that kind of thing. A little bit goes a long way, though. I will tell you that with this guy, because he is strong. And this is one of those essential oils that I paid a little bit more money for, but a little goes a long way. So most of the time I would do a few drops of the lavender, you know, like 5 drops, and then like 1 or 2 of the camphor, and I would mix them like that. Alright, the next thing I'm going to share with you is my favorite book for the month. Now, I actually finished this book. Mastering Witchcraft, Practical Guide for Witches, Warlocks, and Covens by Paul Houston. This book right here, I got him off of Amazon. You can easily search that and find it. Piece of cake. I will, however, warn you, there is a nice big juicy chapter in here on curses and hexing. So if you are walking the path where you don't believe in doing that, you might want to avoid this book. However, I will counter that and say that there is a very, very good chapter in here on protection magic. Some really, really good ideas, which I think to an extent it's almost more important to know how to protect yourself versus knowing how to put a curse on someone or hex someone. Wouldn't you want to know how to be safe before you did that? Just saying. Okay, so during the month of June we all celebrated Litha. Now I really have a hard time doing very much for that, because where I live at, we're talking it's 120 degrees, and we all pretty much stay inside because of air conditioning. Otherwise, if we go outside, we'll probably burst into flames and die. This time of year, it feels like there's more of an underworld tone and more of death tones right now than Samhain even. So I stumbled upon something that was a complete game changer. I was driving to work one day and I happened to look on the side of the road and I saw this mass of feathers that I knew was not the average roadkill type of find. And you know, we have a lot of blackbirds, we have a ton of doves. This time of year they all migrate down this way, and you do see a lot of the doves on the side of the road, unfortunately. And when I saw that the this bundle of feathers was predominantly white and there was a little bit of tan in there, I knew automatically that it was more than likely an owl. And you know, I went to work that day and I kept thinking about it, and I went home and I kept thinking about it, and I tried and I was like playing it over in my mind where it was precisely on the road and how I could get to it, etc. It literally took me 3 times and days of plotting, 3 or 4 days of plotting how I was going to get to him, because he was in a precarious position on the side of the road. There was only so much room, and it was on the freeway, so the vehicle had to be parked in this little patch of road, and it was kind of on a hill, so like one side, you know, there's like a fence, so there really isn't any like desert that you could just drive out into and then do what you need to do. No, it wasn't like that. It was a very hard area to get to, and I believe that's why no one got him before I did, because I literally kept checking. I was like, is he still there? Is he still there? And he was. And I think that's why no other predators got to him, you know, like the coyotes didn't get to him and carry him off. We do have vultures, buzzard type of birds that will swoop in on roadkill too, and I'm like, they didn't go there because, again, it was such a bad spot on the road that predators couldn't even get to it, let alone anybody else who would be like, you know, a total taxidermy nut job like myself. And so he sat there for a few days, you know, and it was really, really hot. And one day that I didn't have my daughter, I dropped her off at preschool, and it was still a little cooler, and the traffic was a little less. So I went over, and this was literally the first time I tried to do it, there were too many cars that were right behind me, so I couldn't pull off the freeway. Then by the 3rd time, everything just lined up, and I parked, and I parked to where he was in front of me versus behind me, because I would have been running against oncoming traffic to go get him, and I'm like, no, he has to be in front of me. I literally plotted all this stuff out the night before, and I parked and I sat there and I waited until there was a huge gap in the traffic, and jumped out of that freaking Jeep and ran over there with the darn trash bag and literally picked him up off the ground. Surprisingly, it was really easy because it had been so hot. He was basically owl jerky by the time I got to him. And, you know, I brought him home and figured out what I wanted to do and everything. So, I literally was like, that is my owl. I am going to get him. He is going to be mine. That's it, you know? And I totally pumped myself up for him. And I had to be just this wild woman jumping out of a freaking car on a freeway in a horrible spot and going over there and scraping this roadkill off the side of the road. But it was totally worth it, let me tell you. And right now, currently, I was able to get 2 beautiful wings, which were splayed already. I didn't have to do any of that business. I posted pictures on Instagram if you want to go see, just of the wing or whatever. I didn't get too graphic because, you know, sometimes animal parts irk people, and, you know, and I'm like, okay, this was ethically harvested off of the side of the road. But what came to me was, in fact, a barn owl. And I will share this with you for now because everything else is being worked on at the moment. And this was just one of the feathers that had came off, you know, very loosely. And I did on Litha, I put the remainder of his remains to rest. Did a little ceremony for him, burned a candle, said some words. I profusely tried to communicate my gratitude for such a gift to be added to my practice, to have his presence, to be able to have these tools at my fingertips to help develop my practice was just beyond so amazing. And I wanted to convey that to him before he was finally put to rest. And I believe what I will do is every Litha I will light a candle for this owl. Oh, and he is actually buried on my property versus letting him sit out there on the side of the road rotting away. So yeah, I burned some sage for him, got a bunch of herbs in there for him, burned a candle, said some words, and yeah. So now the barn owl just seems to be popping up all over the place for me. And I actually walked into a thrift shop the other day and I found this. I'm like, are you kidding me? I literally had to have him. And you can see it was on sale. So yeah, I got you, barn owl. I hear you coming in loud and clear. And ironically, the day that I got him was the day that I finally picked up the shears and did V-bangs, which I think is kind of funny because it's like, oh, V-bangs, yeah. And yeah, that's my June favorites. I'll see you guys next video. Remember, go outside, find the moon.